The emergency lights flashed red across the massive council chamber. Admiral Tejo stood at the center podium, his blue skin pale with worry. Around him, representatives from 50 different species argued in dozens of languages. The translation devices worked overtime, filling the air with a chaos of voices. "Order! Order!" Tejo shouted, banging his staff against the metal floor. The sound echoed through the chamber. Slowly, the voices died down. "We must face the truth. The Vorthak Empire has taken 3 more systems this week." A tall, thin creature with 4 arms raised one hand. "Admiral, our fleets cannot match their technology. Every battle ends the same way. We lose ships. They gain territory." Captain Minsu of the Altarian Defense Fleet stood up from his seat. His green scales caught the chamber lights. "What about the Outer Rim defenses? Can we hold them there?" "For how long?" asked another representative. "Maybe 2 months, 3 if we are lucky." The chamber fell silent. Everyone knew what that meant. The Vorthak Empire would reach the core world soon. Billions would die. Their entire civilization could end. Elder Sujin, the oldest member of the council, slowly rose from her chair. Her ancient voice carried across the silent chamber. "There is one option we have not discussed." All eyes turned to her. At 300 years old, she had seen more than anyone else in the room. Her people kept the oldest records in the galaxy. "The human territory," she said. The effect was immediate. Representatives jumped to their feet. Some shouted in fear. Others made protective gestures from their homeworlds. One delegate actually fainted. "You cannot be serious," Captain Minsu said. "No one goes to human space. No one." "And why is that?" Elder Sujin asked calmly. "Can anyone here tell me exactly why we fear them?" The chamber grew quiet again. Admiral Tejo frowned. "The stories. Everyone knows the stories." "Stories," Sujin repeated. "Not facts, not reports. Stories passed, down through generations. Let me tell you what our oldest records actually say." She activated her holographic display. Ancient text appeared in the air, written in the oldest known galactic language. 500 years ago, our explorers found a small system on the edge of the galaxy, 7 planets around a yellow star. They sent a probe to the 3rd planet. The hologram showed a blue and green world covered in clouds. The probe sent back impossible readings, gravity fields that changed randomly, radiation levels that should kill everything, weather patterns that made no sense, earthquakes that happened in space above the planet. Several representatives shuddered. One covered his eyes. But there was life there. Not just life, intelligent life. Creatures that had somehow survived on this death world. The probe recorded them and sent the data back. The hologram changed. It showed tall, pale creatures walking upright. They looked almost normal compared to other species, but something about them felt wrong. The explorers decided to make contact. They sent a ship with a full diplomatic team, 300 of our best people. "What happened to them?" Admiral Tejo asked, though he seemed afraid to hear the answer. "They vanished. No distress signal. No wreckage. Nothing. One day they were approaching the human system. The next day, they were gone." The chamber was dead silent. More ships went to investigate. They found the diplomatic ship in perfect condition, floating in space near the human world. Everyone on board was gone. No signs of struggle, no damage. The ship's logs showed they had been invited to land on the planet. The last entry said they were going down to meet the humans. Elder Sujin paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. "Since then, no ship has entered human space. We marked it as forbidden territory. We told ourselves it was to protect them from us. But the truth is we were protecting ourselves from them." Captain Minsu stood up again. "So you want us to go ask these creatures for help? The same beings who made 300 people disappear?" "The Vorthak Empire will kill billions," Sujin replied. "The humans killed 300. Which is the greater threat?" A new voice spoke from the back of the chamber. Dr. Haye-Jin, the council's chief xenobiologist, walked forward. She was young for her position, but her knowledge of alien species was unmatched. "I have studied every record we have about humans," she said. every probe reading, every sensor scan from the border of their space. Do you know what I found? Tell us, Admiral Tejo said. They know about us. They have been watching us for decades, maybe longer. Our border stations detect energy signatures from their territory, scanning beams, communication signals. They know everything about our civilization. The representatives looked around nervously. If they wanted to destroy us, Dr. Hyjin continued, they could have done it long ago. They choose not to. That tells me something important about their nature. Or it tells us they are playing a longer game, Captain Minsu argued. Maybe they wait for us to weaken ourselves before they strike. Maybe, Dr. Hyjin agreed. But what choice do we have? Fight the Vorthak Empire and definitely lose, or contact the humans and possibly find allies? Elder Sujin nodded. The young doctor speaks wisdom. We have spent 500 years fearing shadows. Perhaps it is time to face the light. Admiral Tejo looked around the chamber. Fear was written on every face. But behind the fear, he saw something else. Desperation. They were running out of options. If we do this, he said slowly, who would make contact? Who would be brave enough to enter human space? I will, Dr. Hyjin said without hesitation. It is my field of study. If anyone can communicate with them, it would be me. It could be suicide, Captain Minsu warned. Everything is suicide now, she replied. At least this way we might save our people. The voting process took 3 hours. In the end, 37 species voted yes. Only 13 voted no. It was decided Dr. Hyjin would lead a small team to human space. They would attempt first contact. They would ask for help against the Vorthak Empire. As the council session ended, Admiral Tai Ho pulled Dr. Hyjin aside. Are you sure about this? He asked. Once you enter their territory, we might never see you again. She looked out through the chamber's massive windows at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, the Vorthak Empire continued its advance. Somewhere else, in a forbidden region of space, humans waited. Admiral, she said, I have spent my entire career studying alien species. I have met creatures of pure energy, beings made of living crystal, and hive minds that span entire star systems. But humans are different. Every reading we get from their space shows technology we cannot understand. Power sources that should not exist. They are either the greatest threat the galaxy has ever known, or they could be our salvation. And if they are the threat? Dr. Hyjin smiled sadly. Then at least we will know the truth before we die. I would rather face one unknown than wait for a known destroyer to reach us. 3 days later, Dr. Hyjin's ship left the council station. With her went Captain Jun Ho and a small escort squadron. Their destination was the edge of human space, where no living being had traveled for 500 years. Behind them, the Vorthak Empire continued its advance. Their massive fleets moved through space like a plague, consuming everything in their path. The race was on. Would the humans be the galaxy's salvation or its final doom? Dr. Hyjin would soon find out. As her ship jumped to hyperspace, heading toward the most feared region in the galaxy, every being in council space held their breath and waited. Dr. Hyjin stared at the navigation display with growing nervousness. The red line marking the border of human space was only hours away. Behind her, Captain Jun Ho checked the escort squadron for the 10th time. All ships reporting ready, he said, though I still think this is madness. Courage and madness often look the same, Dr. Hyjin replied. She turned to her communications officer. Any signals from human space? Nothing, Doctor. The entire region is silent. No radio waves, no energy signatures. It is like space itself is empty there. Dr. Hyjin frowned. That made no sense. Their long-range sensors had detected activity in human territory for years. Now, as they approached, everything went quiet. Maybe they know we are coming, Captain Jun Ho suggested. Or maybe they are preparing to destroy us, the communications officer added nervously. The ship's alarm suddenly rang. Red lights flashed across the bridge. Contact! The sensor operator shouted. Single ship, directly ahead. It just appeared. From nowhere. Dr. He-jin rushed to the sensor station. On the screen, a sleek vessel hung in space between them and the human border. It was unlike any ship design she had ever seen. No hard edges or angular surfaces. Instead, it flowed like water frozen in motion. Size? She asked. Small? Maybe 50 meters long. Crew of 10. Maximum. Captain Jun-ho joined them at the sensors. That tiny thing? What threat could it pose to our squadron? Before anyone could answer, the communications board lit up. A calm voice spoke in perfect galactic standard language. Unknown vessels, this is Lieutenant Commander Boram of the Human Border Patrol. Please state your intentions. The bridge fell silent. Dr. Hae-jin felt her heart's beating fast. She was about to make first contact with humanity. This is Dr. Hae-jin of the Galactic Council, she replied. We request permission to speak with your authorities. We come seeking help. There was a pause. Then, help? That is interesting. Please hold your position while I contact my superiors. They speak our language perfectly, Captain Jun-ho whispered. How is that possible? Because we have been listening to your broadcasts for decades, the human voice replied, apparently hearing his whisper. We know 47 galactic languages. We find languages fascinating. Dr. Hae-jin stepped closer to the communication panel. Lieutenant Commander Boram, how long have your people been observing us? Long enough to know you are in trouble. The Vorthak Empire has taken the Kelton system, correct? And 3 others this month? The precision of their knowledge was shocking. You are very well informed. We pay attention to our neighbors. Doctor, I have received permission to escort you to a meeting point. Captain Wu Jin will handle your request. Is it safe? Captain Jun-ho asked. There was what sounded like a laugh. Captain, if we wanted to harm you, you would already be dead. Please follow my ship. The human vessel began moving. It did not turn or accelerate in any way Dr. Hae-jin could detect. One moment it was still. The next, it was gliding through space like a fish through water. Follow them, she ordered. As they traveled deeper into human space, Dr. Hae-jin studied the sensor readings. What she saw made no sense. The human ship showed no engine emissions, no heat signature, no energy output at all. Yet it moved through space faster than should be possible. Doctor, the sensor operator called, you need to see this. She looked at his screen. Around them, space itself looked different. Stars that should be light years away appeared close enough to touch. Nebulae that existed in other sectors hung in the distance like colorful clouds. The stars are wrong, Captain Jun-ho said quietly. Those constellations do not exist. They do now, Lieutenant Commander Boram's voice said over the comm. Space works differently here. Do not worry. Your ships are perfectly safe. 20 minutes later, they arrived at what the humans called a meeting point. It was a small space station, but like their ship, it defied conventional design. The station seemed to be built from a single piece of smooth metal that bent and curved in impossible ways. Please dock in Bay 3, Boram instructed. Captain Wu Jin is waiting for you. Dr. Hae-jin took only a small team aboard the human station. As the airlock opened, she expected to see an alien environment. Instead, she found a corridor that could have been from any galactic station. The gravity was comfortable. The air was breathable. Even the lighting was pleasant. Captain Wu Jin waited for them in what appeared to be a conference room. Dr. He-jin's first thought was how normal he looked. Tall, pale skin, brown hair, 2 arms, 2 legs. If not for the circumstances, she might have mistaken him for any number of galactic species. Dr. He-jin, he said, standing and offering what she recognized as a greeting gesture. Welcome to human space. Please, sit. Would you like tea? Tea. They were offering tea. Dr. Hae-jin had expected weapons, threats, or demands. Instead, she was being offered refreshments. Thank you, she managed to say. As Captain Wu Jin prepared the tea, he spoke casually. We know why you are here. The Vorthak Empire threatens your entire civilization. Your military forces cannot stop them. Your council is desperate. You know about the council meetings, Captain Jun-ho asked. We know many things. We have been watching your species develop for a very long time. All of your species. Wu Jin handed them steaming cups. We find galactic civilization fascinating. Dr. Hae Jin took a sip. The tea was delicious. Why have you never made contact before? You never asked for contact. You seemed quite happy to avoid us. We respected that choice. But you could have introduced yourselves. You could have joined the galactic community. Captain Wu Jin sat down across from them. Doctor, in your experience, how do most species react when they encounter something more powerful than themselves? They either attack or submit. Exactly. We preferred to wait until someone was ready for actual communication. Someone who came seeking cooperation rather than conquest. And you think we are ready? You are here, are you not? You came seeking help rather than trying to invade. That shows wisdom. Captain Junho leaned forward. Can you help us against the Vorthak Empire? That depends. What exactly are you asking us to do? Dr. He Jin chose her words carefully. We need military assistance. The Vorthak have technology and numbers we cannot match. If your people have advanced weapons or ships. We do not use weapons the way you understand them, Wu Jin said. But yes, we can stop the Vorthak Empire. The question is whether your people are prepared for the consequences. What consequences? Once we act, your galaxy will know we exist. There will be no going back to the old ways. Some species will fear us. Others will want to study us. Many will seek to use us for their own purposes. And some will try to destroy you, Captain Junho added. Captain Wu Jin smiled. They are welcome to try. The casual confidence in his voice was more frightening than any threat. Dr. Hae Jin realized she was seeing just the surface of something much deeper. What do you want in return? She asked. Full membership in the Galactic Council, recognition of human territory, trade agreements, cultural exchange programs. We want to stop hiding. That seems reasonable. Some of your colleagues will not think so. They have spent 500 years telling themselves we are monsters. Learning the truth will be difficult for them. Dr. Hae Jin stood up. Captain Wu Jin, I need to ask you directly. Are humans a threat to galactic civilization? He considered the question seriously. Doctor, we could have conquered your entire galaxy centuries ago. We chose not to. Does that answer your question? It does. Then let us discuss how to save your people from the Vorthak Empire. They talked for 3 hours. Captain Wu Jin showed them tactical displays that made Dr. Hae Jin's head spin. Human technology was so far beyond galactic standard that it might as well have been magic. When the meeting ended, Dr. Hae Jin felt both hopeful and terrified. The humans could indeed save them from the Vorthak Empire, but the price would be accepting that humanity was more powerful than every other species combined. As their ships prepared to leave human space, Captain Wu Jin's final words echoed in her mind. Tell your council that humanity is ready to join the galaxy. The question is whether the galaxy is ready for humanity. The return journey to council space took 2 days. Dr. He Jin spent the time preparing her report. How do you tell an entire civilization that their greatest fear might be their only salvation? How do you explain that the monsters they had been hiding from were actually waiting patiently to be invited to help? She would find out soon enough. The council chamber erupted in chaos the moment Dr. Hae Jin finished her report. Representatives jumped from their seats, shouting in dozens of languages. Some called her a liar. Others accused her of being controlled by human mind powers. A few simply screamed in terror. Admiral Tae-ho pounded his staff repeatedly, but the noise continued. Finally, he activated the chamber's emergency sound dampeners. The sudden silence was almost as shocking as the noise had been. Dr. Hae Jin, said Representative Kolmar from the Rigelian delegation, you ask us to believe that humans are friendly neighbors who just want to help? That is what they told me. Yes. And you saw no weapons? No threats? No signs of the power that made our ancestors fear them? Dr. Hae Jin hesitated. I saw things I cannot explain. Their technology is far beyond ours, but they were polite. Helpful, even kind. Predators are often kind to their prey, Captain Minsu said darkly. Right up until they strike. Elder Su Jin raised her hand for attention. What exactly did they want in return for their help? Full membership in the Galactic Council, recognition of their territory, normal diplomatic relations. The chamber fell silent again. After 500 years of treating human space as forbidden territory, the idea of humans as council members was shocking. "Absolutely not," declared Ambassador Veltar of the Centauri Alliance. "We cannot give voting rights to a species we know nothing about." "We know they can save us from the Vorthak Empire," Dr. Hejin replied, "assuming they are telling the truth. Assuming this is not some elaborate trap." Admiral Tejo stood up. "The Vorthak fleet will reach the Aldebaran system in 6 days. We need to make a decision now." "Then I suggest we surrender to the Vorthak," Captain Minsu said. "At least we know what they want. They want to rule us, the humans. Who knows what they really want?" As the arguments continued, the chamber's main screen activated. A face appeared, human, but somehow more detailed than any hologram they had ever seen. The man had dark hair and calm eyes that seemed to look directly at each representative. "Greetings, Galactic Council," the human said. "I am Ambassador Dongwu of the Human Federation. I hope I am not interrupting." The chamber fell dead silent. How had humans accessed their secured communication system? The council station had the best encryption in the galaxy. "Your defenses are adequate," Ambassador Dongwu said, apparently reading their thoughts. "We simply have better technology. May I enter your station? I believe face-to-face discussion would be more productive." Before anyone could answer, the chamber's side door opened. Ambassador Dongwu walked in, looking exactly as he had on the screen. Several representatives jumped back in fear. "How did you get aboard our station?" Admiral Tejo demanded. "I asked nicely," Dongwu replied with a slight smile. "Your docking bay personnel were very helpful once they understood I was here for the scheduled meeting." "There was no scheduled meeting. There is now. May I address the council?" "Admiral." Tejo looked around the chamber. Every representative stared at the human with a mixture of fear and fascination. Finally, he nodded. "Thank you," Ambassador Dongwu said. He walked to the center of the chamber with easy confidence. "I understand you have concerns about our offer of assistance." "We have concerns about everything," Representative Colmar said. "Your people have been hidden for 500 years. Now you suddenly want to help us? Why? Because isolation is no longer practical. The galaxy is changing. The Vorthak Empire is just the beginning. Other threats will follow. It is time for humanity to take its place in galactic civilization." "What other threats?" Elder Sujin asked. Ambassador Dongwu gestured, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a map of the galaxy with several red zones marked. Extragalactic entities probing our outer rim. Machine intelligences awakening in dead systems. Reality distortions spreading from the galactic core. The Vorthak Empire is actually one of the smaller problems you will face. The representatives stared at the display in shock. These threats were not in any of their intelligence reports. "How do you know about these things?" Dr. Hyojin asked. "We have been watching and protecting this galaxy for longer than your records show, but we cannot do it alone anymore. The threats are growing too large, too complex." Captain Minsu stood up. "You said you have been protecting us? From what?" 3 incursions from outside the galaxy in the past century, 2 machine virus outbreaks that would have consumed entire sectors, multiple reality tears that could have unraveled local space-time. "We handled them quietly." "Prove it," Admiral Tejo demanded. The holographic display changed. It showed a timeline of galactic events over the past 100 years. Next to each major disaster that had been mysteriously prevented or solved, a small human symbol appeared. The Andromeda Plague that suddenly stopped spreading 20 years ago, Ambassador Dongwu explained. "We developed the cure. The quantum storm that threatened the Vega system 15 years ago. We dispersed it. The machine fleet that vanished near the galactic rim 10 years ago. We redirected them back to dark space." The chamber was silent as representatives absorbed this information. "Why help us secretly?" Elder Sujin asked. "Why not make contact then?" "Because you were not ready. Most species discover faster than light travel, expand rapidly, then destroy themselves within 1,000 years. We wanted to see if galactic civilization would mature." "And have we?" Dr. Hyojin asked. "You are here seeking cooperation instead of conquest. That is a good sign. But you still have far to go." A new voice spoke from the back of the chamber. General Young-Soo, a human in military uniform, walked through the doors. Like Ambassador Dong-Wu, he had somehow appeared without passing through security. "The Vorthak fleet has accelerated," he reported. "They will reach Aldebaran in 4 days, not 6. "How many humans are on our station?" Admiral Tae-ho asked nervously. "Just the 2 of us," General Young-Soo replied. "We prefer small delegations." He activated his own holographic display. Battle plans appeared in the air. Detailed, tactical information about the Vorthak fleet movements. "Their weakness is overconfidence," he explained. "They believe their technology makes them invincible. We can use that against them." "How?" Captain Min-Soo asked. "By showing them that technology is only as good as the understanding behind it. The Vorthak use weapons they do not truly comprehend. We will demonstrate the difference." Representative Kolmar looked at the battle plans with growing concern. These tactics, they assume capabilities no galactic species possesses: faster-than-light maneuvering during combat, shields that can be selectively permeable, weapons that ignore known physics. "Standard human military technology," General Young-Soo said casually. "Impossible. Only if you limit yourself to current galactic understanding of physics. We do not." Dr. Hai-Jin studied the tactical displays. "What would you need from us?" "Permission to engage the Vorthak fleet, recognition of our authority to act in galactic defense, and formal membership in this council." "And if we refuse?" Admiral Tae-ho asked. Ambassador Dong-Wu shrugged. "Then the Vorthak Empire conquers the galaxy. Eventually, they would threaten human space. We would deal with them then. But by that time, galactic civilization would be extinct." The choice was clear: accept humanity into galactic society or face extinction from the Vorthak Empire. "I call for a vote," Elder Sujin said. "All in favor of accepting the Human Alliance proposal?" The voting took an hour. In the end, 41 species voted yes. 9 voted no. The measure passed. "Welcome to the Galactic Council," Admiral Tae-ho said formally. "When can you engage the Vorthak fleet?" General Young-Soo smiled. "We already have. The first human ships arrived at Aldebaran an hour ago." "How is that possible? Aldebaran is 12 light-years away." "Distance is relative when you understand space-time properly. Would you like to watch the battle?" Before anyone could answer, the chamber's main screen activated. It showed the Aldebaran system, where the massive Vorthak fleet was advancing on the colonial worlds. And emerging from seemingly empty space, human ships appeared. They were beautiful and terrible at the same time. Flowing designs that seemed more grown than built. No visible weapons, but energy readings that made the chamber's sensors overload. "The demonstration begins," General Young-Soo said. The assembled representatives watched in amazement and terror as humanity revealed its true power for the first time in 500 years. The galaxy would never be the same. Admiral Crowthor of the Vorthak Empire stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the sensors with satisfaction. The Aldebaran system lay before him. 3 populated worlds, 2 billion civilians, and only a small defense fleet to protect them. "Estimated time to conquest?" he asked his tactical officer. 6 hours, Admiral. Their defenses are pathetic." Crowthor smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. His species had conquered 12 systems using superior technology and ruthless tactics. These soft galactic species never learned. They always thought diplomacy could solve their problems. "Begin the attack. I want the colony worlds to surrender within 4 hours." The massive Vorthak fleet began moving toward the inner planets. 200 ships, each one carrying enough firepower to crack a moon. The small human defense fleet, barely 30 vessels, was scattered throughout the system. "Admiral," his sensor operator called out, "I am reading strange energy signatures from the human ships." "Human ships?" Crowthor frowned. "There are no humans in this system." "Sir, I am showing 37 vessels with unknown design characteristics. They appeared from nowhere approximately 1 minute ago." Crowthor looked at the tactical display. The unknown ships were indeed there, but they looked nothing like standard galactic designs. They seemed to flow and shift even as he watched. "Size and capabilities?" "Unknown, sir. Our sensors cannot get clear readings. The ships seem to be uncertain." "Uncertain?" They appear to exist in multiple positions simultaneously. Our targeting computers cannot lock onto them. Kralthor laughed. Sensor ghosts. These galactic species love their tricks. Ignore them and continue the attack. The Vorthak fleet opened fire on the colonial defense stations. Massive energy beams lanced through space, designed to punch through any known shield technology. The beams simply stopped. They hit invisible barriers around the stations and disappeared. What happened to our weapons? Kralthor demanded. Unknown, sir. The energy discharges seem to have been absorbed. By what? Before anyone could answer, a calm voice spoke over the fleet communication system. It was speaking in perfect Vorthak. Language. Vorthak Fleet. This is Colonel Jin A of the Human Defense Force. You are hereby ordered to withdraw from this system immediately. Kralthor stared at the communication panel. How did they access our secure channels? Colonel Jin A, he replied. I am Admiral Kralthor of the Vorthak Empire. We do not take orders from inferior species. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick. Admiral, you misunderstand the situation. You are the ones who should surrender. 30 ships against 200? You must be joking. Numbers are not everything. Last chance. Withdraw now. Kralthor cut the communication and turned to his weapons officer. Target those human ships. Destroy them all. The Vorthak fleet turned its full firepower on the human vessels. Energy beams, particle cannons, and quantum torpedoes filled space with destructive force. None of it touched the human ships. Sir, the tactical officer said nervously, our weapons are passing right through them. That is impossible. They seem to be phasing in and out of normal space. We cannot hit something that is not entirely there. Kralthor watched in growing alarm as the human ships began moving toward his fleet. They did not accelerate or maneuver like normal vessels. Instead, they simply appeared where they wanted to be. Evasive maneuvers, he ordered. The Vorthak ships began complex evasion patterns, but it made no difference. The human vessels appeared around them like ghosts, materializing from nowhere. Admiral, Colonel Jinne's voice returned. You have chosen poorly, initiating defensive measures. What happened next would be recorded in military histories for centuries. The human ships did not fire weapons in any conventional sense. Instead, reality around the Vorthak fleet began to change. Gravity fields appeared and disappeared randomly. Some Vorthak ships found themselves pulled in multiple directions at once. Others discovered that their engines had stopped working, not because of damage, but because the laws of physics in their local area had changed. What is happening? Kralthor shouted. Sir, space itself seems to be malfunctioning around us. Our instruments show impossible readings. On the main screen, Kralthor watched one of his cruisers suddenly fold in half like paper. Not crushed by external force, the ship simply decided that being folded was its natural state. Another vessel found its weapons firing backward into its own hull. The energy beams traveled in perfect straight lines, but somehow ended up pointing the wrong direction. This is impossible, the tactical officer screamed. Physics does not work this way. Physics works however we need it to work, Colonel Jinne's voice said calmly. This is your final warning. Surrender or face complete destruction. Kralthor's flagship shuddered as something impossible happened to its armor plating. The metal began flowing like water, then crystallizing into beautiful but useless shapes. How are you doing this? He demanded. We are simply being ourselves, Admiral. This is what happens when humans fight. Across the fleet, Vorthak ships were experiencing their own impossible fates. Some found their crews unable to remember how to operate their equipment. Others discovered that their hulls had become transparent, offering no protection from space. One unfortunate destroyer found that time was moving backward inside its hull. The crew watched their battle stations unbuild themselves while their coffee flowed back into its containers. Sir, the communications officer called out. Half our fleet is requesting permission to retreat, and the other half? They are asking what happened to their ship. Apparently the entire vessel is now made of flowers. Kralthor looked at his tactical display. The readings made no sense. Ships were listed as existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Others showed up as being made of solid music or crystallized mathematics. In the middle of this chaos, the human ships moved with perfect calm. They flowed through space like dancers, untouched by the reality distortions they were creating. "Colonel, Gene, Crowthor said desperately. "What do you want?" "Your complete surrender. All Vorthak forces will withdraw from galactic space immediately. Any future aggression will result in more permanent changes to your understanding of physics." "And if we refuse?" One of Crowthor's cruisers suddenly began singing. The entire ship had become a musical instrument, its hull resonating in perfect harmony. The crew was still alive and functional, but they could only communicate through song. "That was a demonstration," Colonel Jin-A explained. "We can make the changes permanent. Your ships will exist as art installations for the rest of eternity. Beautiful but not very useful for conquest." Crowthor looked around his bridge. His own ship was still functional, but he could see strange things happening at the edges of his vision. The walls occasionally flickered between metal and what looked like flowing water. "What are you?" he whispered. "We are humans, Admiral. We come from a world where reality is optional. We learned long ago that the universe is much more flexible than most species realize. This is not technology. No. This is simply what we do. Your weapons use energy to destroy matter. We prefer to convince matter that it wants to be something else." On the tactical display, another Vorthak ship transformed. This one became a perfect sphere of golden light. It was incredibly beautiful, but it could no longer fight or move. "I surrender," Crowthor said quietly. "Louder, please. Your entire fleet needs to hear. I, Admiral Crowthor of the Vorthak Empire, surrender unconditionally. To the Human Defense Force, all Vorthak ships will withdraw immediately." The impossible effects around the fleet began to fade. Ships returned to normal, though their crews would never forget what they had experienced. The vessel made of flowers became metal again. The singing cruiser stopped harmonizing and returned to standard communications. But the golden sphere of light remained hanging in space like a beautiful warning. "That ship will stay as it is," Colonel Jin-A explained, "a reminder of what happens when you threaten innocent people in our galaxy." Within 6 hours, the entire Vorthak fleet had retreated beyond the galactic rim. They left behind only the golden sphere and thousands of traumatized soldiers who would spend the rest of their lives trying to explain what they had witnessed. Back at the Galactic Council Station, the representatives watched the battle's end in stunned silence. "How?" Admiral Taeho finally asked. General Young-Soo, who had been calmly observing the battle, smiled. "That was actually quite restrained," he said. "Colonel Jin-A is known for her gentle approach. If we had sent someone less diplomatic, the Vorthak ships might have been turned into butterflies." "This changes everything," Elder Su-Jin said quietly. "Yes," General Young-Soo agreed. "Welcome to the galaxy as it really is. We hope you enjoy the view." The age of human secrecy was over. The galaxy had seen what humanity could do, and they were just getting started. 3 weeks after the Vorthak defeat, Captain Jun-Ho found himself preparing for the most impossible journey of his life. The Galactic Council had chosen him to lead the first official diplomatic mission to Earth itself. No non-human had ever set foot on the human homeworld. "Are you certain about this?" Admiral Taeho asked for the 10th time. "After what we saw at Aldebaran, who knows what we might find on their planet?" "Someone has to go," Captain Jun-Ho replied, checking his ship's systems one final time. "The humans have been remarkably patient with our questions, but eventually they will expect us to trust them enough for a proper visit." Dr. Haya-Jin joined him on the bridge, carrying several cases of scientific equipment. "The Xenobiology Department has prepared extensive scanning protocols. We should be able to learn much about human evolution and culture." "Assuming we survive the experience," Jun-Ho muttered. The journey to human space took 3 days. As they approached the border, Captain Jun-Ho expected to be met by the usual patrol ships. Instead, Ambassador Dong-Woo himself appeared on their communication screen. "Captain Jun-Ho, Dr. Hai-Jin, welcome back to human space. I will personally escort you to Earth." "That is very generous," Jun-Ho replied. "But is it necessary? Surely. You have more important duties. Captain, you are the first non-humans to visit our homeworld in 500 years. There are no more important duties today." A human ship appeared alongside them. Not the flowing design they had seen before, but something that looked almost like a living creature. It had what appeared to be wings, though they were clearly not meant for atmospheric flight. "Please follow us," Ambassador Dongwu said. "The journey to Earth will take approximately 6 hours." As they traveled through human space, Dr. Hae-jin made detailed sensor recordings. What she saw challenged everything she thought she knew about physics. "Captain," she said quietly, "look at these readings. The stars in this region are not where they should be." Jun-ho examined her data. "That constellation there, those stars are normally in different sectors, hundreds of light years apart. It is as if space itself has been rearranged to be more convenient." Over the communication channel, Ambassador Dongwu chuckled. "Very observant, Doctor. Space-time in our territory has been optimized for navigation. Why travel long distances when you can simply adjust the distances themselves? How is that possible? Earth sits at a natural dimensional nexus point. Reality is more flexible here than in most places. We learn to work with that flexibility rather than against it." 6 hours later, they arrived at the Sol system. Dr. Hae-jin immediately began intensive scans of the area, but what she found made no sense. "Captain, these readings cannot be correct. I am detecting 9 planets, but also 17 moons that should not exist, and the asteroid belt appears to be organized in geometric patterns." "We have done some redecorating over the centuries," Ambassador Dongwu explained. "The solar system was rather chaotic when we first developed space travel. We tidied it up." "Yuda, tidied up an entire star system? We moved some asteroids, adjusted a few orbital mechanics, added some useful moons. Nothing dramatic." As Earth came into view, Captain Jun-ho gasped. The planet was beautiful beyond description. Blue oceans, green and brown continents, white clouds swirling in perfect patterns. But something was wrong with the physics. "Dr. Hae-jin," he said slowly, "what is that?" She followed his gaze to a massive structure in Earth's orbit. It looked like a ring of crystallized starlight, rotating slowly around the planet. "Unknown," she replied, scanning frantically. "It appears to be solid, but it is made of pure energy. That should be impossible." "That is the Sol ring," Ambassador Dongwu said. "It collects solar energy and distributes it throughout our local dimensional network. We built it about 200 years ago." "You built a ring of solid energy around your planet?" "We needed more power for our larger projects. The ring provides energy to 17 different star systems." Their ship descended through Earth's atmosphere, and Dr. Hae-jin's instruments went completely wild. The planet's surface showed impossible readings. "Captain, I am detecting gravity fields that change based on local need, weather patterns that respond to conscious thought, mountain ranges that exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Standard Earth geography," Ambassador Dongwu said cheerfully. "We learned long ago that a planet should serve its inhabitants, not the other way around." They landed at what Ambassador Dongwu called a simple spaceport. To Captain Jun-ho, it looked like something from a dream. The buildings flowed like water frozen in motion. Plants grew in impossible colors. The sky showed 3 different shades of blue at the same time. Engineer Hanul met them at the landing pad. She was a young human woman with bright eyes and an easy smile. "Welcome to Earth," she said. "I hope you enjoy your visit. Would you like to see some of our basic technology demonstrations?" "Basic technology?" Dr. Hae-jin asked nervously. "Nothing too advanced. Just some simple applications of dimensional mechanics." Engineer Hanul led them to what she called her workshop. It was a large room filled with devices that hurt to look at directly. They seemed to exist in more than 3 dimensions, twisting and turning in ways that made Captain Jun-ho's head ache. "This is a basic matter compiler," Hanul explained, gesturing to a machine the size of a small building. "It takes raw energy and converts it directly into whatever we need." She touched a control panel that appeared to be made of solid light. Immediately, a perfect replica of Captain Jun-ho's ship materialized in the center of the room. "How?" "Doctor," Hae-jin whispered. "We convinced the energy that it wanted to be metal and circuits instead. Energy is very cooperative once you ask nicely." "And this?" Captain Jun-ho pointed to a sphere of what looked like captured lightning. "Oh, that is just a communication device. It lets us talk to people in other dimensions. We have friends in 17 different realities." Dr. Subin, another human researcher, joined them in the workshop. She was carrying what appeared to be a small sun in her bare hands. Hanul, have you shown them the quantum computers yet? I was about to. Dr. Heejin, Dr. Subin studies consciousness and reality interaction. Her work is fascinating. Dr. Subin placed the small sun on a table, where it continued burning without any visible fuel. This computer exists in approximately 40,000 dimensions simultaneously. It can solve problems by asking the universe directly for answers. The universe. Answers? Captain Junho asked weakly. Of course. Reality is much more talkative than most species realize. You just have to know how to listen. They spent the next several hours touring human facilities. Each new demonstration was more impossible than the last. Professor Unji showed them a library that contained every book that had ever been written, plus many that had never been written but should have been. We convinced time to be more flexible around literature, she explained. Books from the future occasionally slip backward to join our collection. What about your evolution? Dr. Hyejin asked. How did your species develop these abilities, Professor? Yunji led them to a viewing area that overlooked a vast landscape. What they saw defied description. This is natural Earth terrain, she said. In some areas, gravity flows upward. Those mountains over there exist on Tuesday, but not on other days of the week. That forest is inhabited by trees that grow backwards through time. Your entire planet is like this? Earth sits at the intersection of multiple dimensional layers. Reality here has always been optional. Our species evolved not just to survive in impossible conditions, but to thrive in them. The probe readings from 500 years ago, Captain Junho said suddenly, the impossible weather patterns, the gravity anomalies, all perfectly normal for Earth. What your ancestors interpreted as a hostile environment was simply our planet being itself. Dr. Hyejin looked around at the impossible landscape. This is why the diplomatic mission disappeared. Actually, no, Professor Yunji said. They are still here. What? They decided to stay. We offered them extended lifespans and the chance to study dimensional physics. Most of them were scientists. They found Earth irresistible. They are alive? Very much so. Would you like to meet them? An hour later, Captain Junho found himself shaking hands with Captain Velmore, who had led the original diplomatic mission 5 centuries ago. The alien looked exactly as he had in the historical records, apparently unchanged by time. Captain Junho, Velmore said enthusiastically. How wonderful to meet someone from the modern galaxy. Tell me, did the Rigelians ever solve their stellar engineering problems? You have been here for 500 years? Best 500 years of my life. Do you have any idea how fascinating dimensional physics is? I have written 37 papers on reality manipulation alone. Why did you never contact the galaxy? We tried, but the messages never seemed to arrive. Something about temporal displacement in our communication arrays. The humans offered to fix it, but we were having too much fun with our research. As evening approached, Ambassador Dongwu found Captain Junho standing on a balcony, looking out at Earth's impossible sunset. The sky showed colors that had no names, and 3 moons danced in patterns that defied orbital mechanics. Overwhelming? Dongwu asked. Terrifying, Junho replied honestly. Your people could reshape the entire galaxy if you wait. The surrender ceremony took place on the Vorthak homeworld of Veltar Prime, though the planet was barely recognizable anymore. What had once been a harsh desert world was now covered in flowering meadows that bloomed in impossible colors. The sky showed 3 different shades of purple, and gravity worked in gentle spirals instead of the usual downward pull. Admiral Tae-ho stood beside Ambassador Dongwu as the Vorthak leadership formally surrendered their empire. The transformation of their homeworld had taken only 3 days, a gentle demonstration of what humans could do when they decided to redecorate. The weather has been particularly lovely since the changes, Admiral Kralthor said nervously. His once fierce demeanor had been replaced by confused politeness. My people are adapting to the new environment. We thought flowers suited your world better than endless sand, Ambassador Dongwu replied kindly. The gravity spirals help with circulation. Your population's health should improve significantly. Dr. Hyejin, now serving as the official human-alien liaison, reviewed the surrender documents. The terms were surprisingly gentle. The Vorthak Empire would become a peaceful member of the galactic community. Their military would be reduced to planetary defense forces. In return, humans would help them adapt to their new reality. Article 7 is interesting, she noted. Educational exchange programs? The Vorthak have excellent engineering skills, Ambassador Dongwu explained. We would like to teach them how to build things that exist in more than 3 dimensions. They seem quite eager to learn. Admiral Kralthor nodded enthusiastically. Our engineers are fascinated by human construction methods, a building that is bigger on the inside than the outside. It violates every principle we know, but it works perfectly. Physics is more of a guideline than a rule, Ambassador Dongwu said. Once your people understand that, they will accomplish remarkable things. The ceremony concluded with the signing of the Treaty of Veltar. As the documents were completed, Captain Min-Su of the Altarian Defense Fleet approached Dr. Hyojin. Doctor, I owe you an apology. I thought you were leading us into disaster. Instead, you may have saved our entire civilization. We all did. What we thought was best for our people, she replied. No apology is necessary. What happens now? How does the galaxy change with humans as members? Before Dr. Hyojin could answer, the air shimmered and General Young-Su appeared beside them. The casual display of interdimensional travel no longer surprised anyone. They had learned that humans considered walking through solid matter to be basic transportation. The real work begins now, he said. The Vorthak Empire was just the beginning. There are much larger threats approaching. What threats? Captain Min-Su asked. General Young-Su gestured, and a holographic display appeared, showing the galaxy from an impossible perspective, as if viewed from outside normal space-time. The Devourers will arrive from the Andromeda Galaxy in approximately 30 years. They consume entire star systems, converting matter into pure hunger. We have been tracking them for decades. Can they be stopped? Admiral Taeho asked. Yes, but not by conventional weapons. The galaxy will need to learn new ways of thinking about defense. What kind of new ways? Reality-based warfare, teaching stars to hide themselves, converting planets into dimensional fortresses, convincing space itself to be unwelcoming to invaders. The assembled representatives absorbed this information with growing unease. Even after witnessing human capabilities, the idea of teaching stars and planets to defend themselves seemed impossible. 6 months later, Dr. Hyojin found herself aboard a human vessel heading toward the galactic core. She had been chosen to document the establishment of the first human galactic joint research station. The ship was commanded by Captain Boram, the same officer who had first greeted them at the human border. Over the months, Dr. Hyojin had learned that humans aged very slowly and often kept the same positions for centuries. How do you feel about becoming the galaxy's protectors? She asked Boram as they traveled through hyperspace that looked more like swimming through liquid starlight than conventional faster-than-light travel. We have always been protectors, Boram replied. The difference is that now we do not have to hide it. Your people can help us in ways we never expected. How can we help you? Your technology is so far beyond ours. Technology is not everything, Doctor. You have something we value much more: diversity of thought. 47 different species, each with unique perspectives on reality. That kind of intellectual variety is precious. They arrived at the research station site to find construction already underway. Human engineers worked alongside teams from dozens of galactic species, building something that existed in 7 dimensions simultaneously. Engineer Haneul, whom Dr. Hyojin had met on Earth, was directing the construction of what she called a reality anchor. The station needs to exist in normal space-time, she explained to a team of confused Rigelian architects. But it also needs to access 17 different dimensional layers for research purposes. The anchor keeps everything stable. How do we design for dimensional layers we cannot perceive? One of the Rigelians asked. You learn to see them, Hanul replied simply. It just takes practice. Would you like me to adjust your visual cortex temporarily? 2 hours later, Dr. Hyojin watched in amazement as the Rigelian architects began designing impossible structures with easy confidence. Their perception had been enhanced to see additional dimensions, and they were adapting rapidly to the expanded view of reality. Is it permanent? She asked Hanul. only if they want it to be. We believe in informed consent for all consciousness modifications. The research station was completed 3 weeks later. It served as a training center where galactic species could learn human techniques while humans learned new perspectives on reality manipulation. Dr. Subin, the quantum consciousness researcher, established the first classes in applied reality theory. Her students included mathematicians, physicists, and philosophers from across the galaxy. The key concept, she explained to her mixed species class, is that consciousness and reality are not separate things. They are different aspects of the same phenomenon. Once you understand this, many things become possible. A young Altarian physicist raised her hand. Professor Subin, are you saying that thinking about something can change physical reality? I am saying that the distinction between thinking and physical reality is artificial. Your thoughts are part of the universe. The universe is part of your thoughts. They influence each other constantly. Professor Yunji, the dimensional physicist from Earth, added her own courses on practical universe modification. Her students learned to perform simple reality adjustments, changing the color of light, adjusting local gravity, convincing matter to be more cooperative. Start small, she advised. Ask a rock to be slightly softer. Request that water flow upward for a few seconds. The universe enjoys variety. It will usually accommodate reasonable requests. As word of these capabilities spread throughout the galaxy, the response was mixed. Some species embraced the new possibilities enthusiastically. Others retreated into isolation, overwhelmed by the implications. Elder Sujin, now serving as the Senior Council Liaison to Humanity, worked to ease the transition. She established introduction protocols for species that were not ready for the full reality of human capabilities. We start with simple demonstrations, she explained to Dr. Hayejin, a flower that glows without a light source, a cup that refills itself. Once they accept that physics is flexible, we can show them larger possibilities. The most dramatic change came in galactic defense. General Young Su established the new Galactic Defense Academy, where military officers from all species learned reality-based warfare. Conventional weapons are useful, he taught his students, but they are limited by physics. Reality-based defense is limited only by imagination and wisdom. Captain Minsu, now a student at the academy, struggled with the concepts at first. General, how do you convince a laser beam to turn around and go home? You ask it politely. Most energy patterns are quite reasonable if you approach them correctly. And if they refuse? Then you change the local definition of what a laser beam is allowed to do. Reality is surprisingly democratic. It will usually accept majority votes on how physics should work in specific areas. 1 year after first contact, the galaxy had transformed beyond recognition. Trade routes now included dimensional shortcuts that reduced travel time by months. Planets experiencing environmental problems received help from human ecological engineers who could convince weather patterns to be more cooperative. The most remarkable change was in galactic consciousness itself. Species that had never cooperated before found themselves working together on projects that would have been impossible under the old physics. Dr. Haijin, now serving as the Director of Human Galactic Relations, stood in her office aboard the Joint Research Station. Through her window, she could see stars that had been rearranged into more aesthetically pleasing patterns. A nebula in the distance had been sculpted into the shape of a flower garden. Ambassador Dong Wu appeared beside her desk, stepping through what looked like solid air. The Council has approved the Deep Space Defense Initiative, he reported. 43 species have volunteered to participate. What?